Welcome to the first episode of Kate's Take. When the church went online, I started taking some time each week after the service to write letters to my Grandma Rin, telling her what I took from Mark's sermon. And I've shared these thoughts with others in my life, both from the church and outside the church. It's always led to really great conversations and self-discovery. When I mentioned this to Mark and Elizabeth a few weeks ago, and suggested this could be something I do through the Advent services, they happily accepted, and Kate's Take was born. This week, I'm going to talk about hope and share some of my own experiences of both hope and hopelessness, and provide some ideas and thoughts on how to keep that hope alive within you, even when it may seem like a wasted effort. I looked up the word hope in the dictionary and learned that it means a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. In my own words, I see hope as that willingness to dream, to think outside of what we know to be possible, and to reach for something more. It's looking up at the night sky full of stars and seeing the expansiveness and knowing that there's so much out there that's yet to be discovered and that we can find it. In my previous work, the word hope was considered a dirty word, and using words hope, wish, dream in any sort of context was frowned upon by the company's leaders. They felt hope didn't imply an action, and without action, how are the results going to be achieved? At the time, I jumped on board and rid those words from my vocabulary, making sure that what I said had the right language and illustrated that I was going to do more than just hope. But I was already on the path to success with my actions. As I've reflected on that in these last few weeks, I realized that is very limiting thinking. If I was restricted by only the actions I could take, I wouldn't think nearly as big as I would if I had the mindset that anything was possible, even if I didn't have the means to make it happen today. Why be limited in our hopes and dreams? You never know what's going to happen, but you've got to be willing to dream without boundaries. Hope's opposite is hopelessness, and while I don't like to dwell on much negative, I do want to share my own recent experience with feeling hopeless and what helped me regain my optimism. As you may know, when COVID ramped up early last spring, I was laid off and then terminated from my job after giving myself to the company for more than 12 years and seeing my career path leading me to stay with that company for 30 years. On top of that, I had just moved to a brand new home, and now with COVID, I was very limited with who I could see or be with. To say I felt hopeless would be an understatement. I felt defeated, disheartened, hurt, and ashamed. But I've always been a glass half full kind of girl and was taught from an early age that it's not what happens in life that counts, it's how you choose to deal with it. I had a choice to make, and I needed to decide to pick myself back up and start hoping for a change. There were some steps I had to take to do that, starting with connecting with myself spiritually. The hopeless feeling came in waves, and I had to ride those waves out or risk getting pulled in a direction I didn't really want to go. In those times, I had to be in tune with myself, think about what I really wanted to have happen, and focus on that. I think about the story of Zachariah and Elizabeth and their desire for a child at their more advanced age, or any parents really hoping to have a child and feeling the pressure of time or defeat if they're not able to carry a child to full term. It can begin to feel hopeless and unfair. But when we can slow down and connect with ourselves, remind ourselves that no matter what, we're enough, and keep that hope alive, the outcome often changes. As I took some time to reflect on who I was and what I'd gained in my work and life experience so far, and what I had to offer another company or business, my hope of finding a new job that would make me happy and fulfilled returned. Once I'd regained that hope, the situation felt bearable and the shame started to disappear. Instead, I was thinking about possibilities and opening myself up to dream for more. I'd love to tell you this all happened overnight, but it did take a couple of weeks and the support of my friends and family to help me see that this setback didn't mean that I was hopeless. In fact, one quote I recently read said that hope is best gained after defeat and failure because then inner strength and toughness is produced. So not only am I feeling back to me, but perhaps I'm a little more resilient. I'll encourage you all to take some time this week and think about a period when you felt hopeless and what pulled you out of it. What allowed you to begin to be ready to hope again? Was it the support of others? Was it connecting with yourself and recognizing that you have the strength within you to persevere? Or was it something else? How can you make sure to put that into play the next time you're feeling hopeless, so you turn your mind back to a hopeful state more quickly? Knowing what triggers your hope to return is a powerful weapon to have in your personal toolkit. Now that I was hoping again, I couldn't believe how many possibilities I found were out there for me. I started to be able to take steps towards action and gain positive momentum. I started viewing the time off as an opening to a whole new set of possibilities, and seeing that I had the chance to use that time to provide hope to others too. One of the neat things about hope is that you can give it to people. This can be as simple as a gesture of kindness. For many people who see the world through that glass half empty view, a simple act of kindness is enough to get them hoping again. I'll share with you a simple example of when I inadvertently received hope about a month ago. I was out cutting my lawn, and just note here, I have a giant property and I use a push mower, so it takes me a good 90 minutes or more to do the whole thing. I was about 3/4 of the way through, but had become tired and feeling like I wasn't ever going to finish. I stopped to take a break and was debating whether to call it quits when a truck drove by and a young girl in the passenger seat smiled brightly and waved at me. I didn't know who she was, but that simple gesture re-energized me enough to make me realize I could finish the job, and I started my mower back up and carried on. What had felt impossible just 30 seconds before felt doable again. My hope of finishing the lawn that day had been restored. I've often heard people use the words hope and faith interchangeably, and I would argue that they are very different. I discussed this with a friend a few days ago and explained to her that for me, faith means I have some evidence to back up my belief. For example, this friend is one who always sticks to her word and follows through on what she says. I don't have to just hope that she'll be there for me, but I have faith that she's going to be there. I learned after that the Bible agrees. In Hebrews 11:1, it says, "Faith is confidence in what we hope for." As Christians, we are people of both faith and hope. They are complementary and they work together. It's said that biblical hope is built on faith, and there are many stories in the Bible to back this up if you need or want more evidence. Another neat piece I read about in my journey to really dive into hope was that hope is the peaceful assurance that something that hasn't happened yet will indeed happen. I liked the word peaceful, that the word peaceful was in there, because there's an inner peace that I know I get when I see a brightness ahead, and there's opportunities in my reach. Feeling hopeful has that calming influence when you're starting to feel like the world is a bit out of your control. Finally, I want to emphasize the notion that hope does not have an expiration date. You can remain hopeful about something for days, weeks, years, decades even. There's no time limit on hope, and being hopeful about something for your whole life is absolutely okay. There's nothing to say that you have to give up a dream. You might be wondering, what could you possibly be hopeful for that long? So to give you an example, for me it's to live a long and healthy life. I've already begun hoping for that for over a decade, and I imagine it's something I will keep alive in my chest of hopes and dreams forever. No matter what you face, I encourage you to remain hopeful. While we may be facing what feels like an impossible time where life is pretty chaotic right now, don't give up hope. Find that silver lining, that picture of a happier time ahead, and focus your energy on knowing brighter times are here. If I had given up hope about Chelmsford having a food drive when I found out the regular ones weren't happening, I wouldn't have taken the steps to work with the connections team to ensure we pulled it off Westminster style, bigger and better than ever. You have a community of people around you who believe in you. Never stop dreaming and never give up on hope. If you're looking for another infusion of hope, check out Natasha Bedingford's music video, Hope for some awesome inspiration. Thank you for tuning into the first episode. We'll see you next week when we explore joy.